and you said these scores were printed and made available to whoever was interested at the time or thereafter in making their own version of the films, since these films by their nature became a reality only when they were repeated and realized by other filmmakers. So it's very, very interesting to see how fresh everything we've just seen is, and how, in a sense, that's what Simon did, and that's what we could do if we were, I mean, we don't have his talent, but, you know, in our heads.
Because, you know, sometimes you don't have the film, you know, to make a film. So it's better to just make it in your head, you know.
But, you know, the other thing I was thinking when I was looking at that, because it was a very interesting compilation of outtakes, of extracts from films that you made, that you and John made together. In the middle of it, you said, maybe towards the beginning, it's becoming, and you were talking in the late 60s, an instantaneous age of communication. It's going to get to the point where everyone understands each other, and we're all together, connected, and we're all the common property of each other. And what I do is not original, I just catch it with my antenna, or catch it in the wind.
Yeah, just going from there somewhere.
And I thought that was amazing, because you kind of described a situation that exists now, maybe through the internet. But interestingly, you always think of the internet as so immaterial. But the way you spoke to that interviewer almost made me feel like the internet is heavy by comparison, because you're talking about something that doesn't rely on technology, but just relies on the mind.
I think that mind is the best antenna in the world, and we can just keep knowing about what the other people are saying. But it's not other people saying, it's us saying it really.
But why were you interested in working with film? I know you worked with every medium, but what is it about film that draws you to it? Drew you to it when you made all the scripts and the films of John?
Well, it's a very strange thing that I was thinking. And I did say that at the time, but we can make a film and just bury it in for 20 or 30 years or something and bring it out. And that is incredibly interesting, because that happened 30 years ago, but at the same time it's happening now. And of course that's true with any literature. You know, you can later read it and it's sort of very different. At the time you did it, you wrote it, it was something else. And now when you read it, it's a very different thing. But I think it's interesting when it's a film, because there's a third dimension, and fourth dimension, fifth dimension, and all sorts of things in there. And they all revive as you see it now.
And do you think that looking at that film, looking at that compilation Simon made, looking at that material, one of the things I think of now that you have a show at Mona that's more physical than your first conceptual show here. I was thinking a lot about the relationship between those two shows, and about people's reactions to it, and about how everything you just said about film is, you're completing a film in your mind even as you're watching it, even if it's on the screen.
Well, I'm still thinking what you said about, you know, what it is interesting about making film, as opposed to, obviously, what you're saying is that as opposed to other mediums.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, when you write something, it's almost like you are really defining what it is. But when you take a film, there are many things that slips in that you weren't expecting. And that's what is very interesting, I think.
I remember you saying that with Fly, the woman who was lying there was and the fly were both you. That the woman was you in a sense as you felt at the time as a woman who's very constricted socially with what women were supposed to do, how they were supposed to be. And then the fly was this other part of you that was very expressive and free. And
yeah, it's very interesting, because the woman can be earth, water or anything. It's just there. And then the fly is another kind, a totally different world. So you have two worlds there. And whether you want to know about the world of the fly or the world of the woman, depends on how you are, but at the same time.
And Bottoms is such a radical film. I don't think it's possible for people to understand maybe how dramatic it was at the time to make a film of naked bodies, of naked bodies.
It was a very conceptual thing too. I kept saying 365 bottoms, and they all said 300. But we don't have 365 bottoms there. It was all conceptual. And when you're watching it, there are many things that you can think about, and not just bottoms. And they said, why is it number 4? So I don't know. I just picked a number, And many things that I didn't know that I just wrote it out. It's very interesting. For instance, the Plastic Ono Band.
Yeah.
Many people now say, well, why did they just choose the word plastic? It's a little bit uncool, But we're now talking about plasticity over brains. And so that when you have all plastic, what it was called, and then inside there's a little tape recorder or something that's making the music. So then, there's nobody on the stage except the plastic things, But that is really like the future,
Yeah,
and I didn't know that.
Yet again, you anticipated that kind of post-body, post-Anthropocene. There's a very new age that we're moving into, in which, because of 3D printing and all the developments that are happening in science, you're able to now have prosthetic limbs that look even more natural than ever before, and move more. Robots are becoming softer. Things are changing. The body and technology are morphing. Marshall McLuhan said in 1971, I think, the man is starting to wear his brains outside his skull. And there's a certain way in which the plastic, if you're predicting that yet again.
Again, John is the one who created the name Beatles, and with a little whatever.
Is this for us to share?
Were we? All right, but
Oh, you can't hear me.
Just for you. Okay, fine. Yeah. So, audible. We were audible, not visible. See the things, John thought of Beatles, and that was just B-E-E-T-L-E, just, he reversed the B-E-E-D-E-A, that's all. But it was a very interesting idea. And now, Plastic Ono Band was his idea. And he wanted to go a step further.
Right.
So that means that, he knew in his head somewhere that plastic is going to be something big in our heads.
Well, not only that, I think that what's interesting to me is that the way you work together, because there's the work you made individually as your own work on the Fluxus films, the early films, as part of the group of Fluxus films that George Martinez produced. And the idea of collaboration, I think, before you met John is also interesting, because I think it's very important that we remember that. Where are my notes? Because, you collaborated with Charlotte Moorman, with Yvonne Rayner, George Brecht, Jonas Meekers, Lamont Young, Jackson McClough, and they all took part in your concert, Grapefruit in the World of Park. And you performed in John Cage's Music Walk in 1962 in Tokyo with David Tudor and Toshiro Mayazumi. And and you also worked with your husband,
really
so the idea of collaboration
it was really not like a collaboration. The reason is because they were so kind of into themselves, each person that you talk about. And so I was just brought in there as another sort of interesting machine. So the collaboration was not really happening as it happened with John. And as I said about plasticity, of course, when I made the stage with 4 plastic poles, I must have known that too. So both of us knew about plasticity, which is very interesting.
And when you began to make films together, the group of films that you made, am I right in thinking that the way you authored them was who had the idea, so that you made them together, but whoever had the idea would take the name of, the film would be your name or his name.
Yeah.
And so there seems like the collaboration with that group of films, it's a very organic process because of the relationship you had, and that really affected the decisions you were making about Fly, with all Apotheosis, all the films you made together. First of all, their colour, there's a certain narrative to them. They have a different quality to them, which is very specific. So it seems like there's a group of films you made, which is the Fluxus films, the early films, and then these other films that you made with John, which are very different.
That's true, yeah.
And
but I think that the vibration of the film was always the same, and he was having that kind of vibration too. But there was no chance for him to express that until we met, you see. And so we have the same vibration. So it's very good. I think that before that, when I was collaborating, well, I won't say collaboration, but when I was performing with other people, it was like I was a very strange element that they were attracted to. But this time with John, it was almost like, it was not a strange element.
what did you mean when you said in the film we've just seen,
What?
I only believe in the world of metaphysics,
Yeah, okay.
the mind. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
What did I say?
You said, I only believe in the world of metaphysics
What?
of the mind. That was the most important thing to you.
It's a very important thing because we are just brain. The brain is what we are, and this is sort of the body that's supporting it. But we are always in the metaphysical world. May I just say something? I really want to thank you for coming tonight. And the reason is because it's so good that it's very sort of warm night and everything, and it's not very sort of interesting to come here maybe to see the film, most of the films that you probably know. But I just wanted to thank you now in case some people get so like bored just leave in the middle of what we're talking about.
Now I've got to say something incredibly interesting to make sure nobody walks away. I want to go back to what you were saying about connectedness, everybody being connected. Yes, because it seems to me that, again, what we've seen in that wonderful compilation was a mixture of films and then also documentary films, documentation of performances, the Michael's films, the cut piece, and music was added. So obviously, when you look at cut piece in its original form, it's just a straight black and white document of the performance. And then Simon added music, and there's a very interesting way in which your music, throughout what we've just seen, really creates the framework for the film, because it adds a very different atmosphere. So when you watch the match, which was silent, slow down because it was filmed 2,000 frames per second, but then suddenly comes this very, very evocative music that I think may have been the soundtrack partly for the Erection film from 1971, but suddenly this very slow conceptual film has this other dimension that you've added to it, or Simon added to it. I'm not sure whether it's you or him, but which is also so interesting.
Well, I like the idea of thinking about music when I'm thinking about other conceptual ideas. And it's very interesting that when I think of lyrics and all that, or even the music itself, I even see visually. I'm visualizing it, even if when it's an incredibly surrealistic visual, but it's there. And so, almost as if it is sort of difficult for me to separate it and put it in the context of, oh, this is music, this is lyrics, because I'm seeing the whole aspect of it. It's incredible. It's like, instead of two-dimensional, three-dimensional, four-dimensional, it's like the whole thing is like a multi-dimensional. And it's very difficult for me to express that. So, in a way, it's all right to express it individually, because they can connect it.
Yeah. But also, I think that one of the interesting things about film and photography is that there is a certain fluidity to them, and particularly at the moment when you were making those films, like Bruce Conner would re-edit his films and include something from one film in another film, and then add something and add a soundtrack, take some sound away, and change it. People are very, very object-based now, especially in this current very market-driven art. And I think the part of the power also of your work lies in the fact that doesn't matter, that actually sound can appear, music can suddenly appear in a film where it wasn't there before. Something can get shifted, something can get rearranged. It's okay. There's a film, and then there's a film in another context.
It's interesting, isn't it? That it works that way. And the thing is, if I try to express everything at the same time, I probably would have gone crazy in a sentimental hospital or something. But I did separate each one of them just to make sure that I'm still, in the society, and talking about it. But yeah, well, I think that the whole world is getting a little bit like this, and so it's kind of, I think it's a progress. Let's say that we are progressing, and I like that.
So if we complete the film in our minds, if that's actually, or any of those artworks actually that we saw in this film, that's a very liberating thing for the audience, for us.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm.
Well, because we can actually be making your film. We can be making a film in our heads right now from any one of your scripts, or re-editing this one.
Because there's many things that most people know, and well, I hope they know. But the thing is, this is the two virgins, but we don't show a lot, and so then they can really go into their brain or memory or whatever it is. And that's all we can do now. But it's kind of showing that we can connect. And the connectedness that I'm so desperately interested in is because my childhood, there was not much connection between my mother, my father, and I, in a way that they had a very big own world. My mother was a very sort of like in a very sophisticated Asian world, and my father was a very sophisticated in the European world. And I'm surprised that they got married. And then I cannot see the connection so easily. So I really wanted a connection. So the connectedness that I'm talking about is almost like a desire.
And how much do you think that desire for connectedness is also influenced by a certain Japanese cultural, say Zen Buddhism, and a certain kind of Eastern way of understanding space and time and communication in a way that acknowledges things other than things being merely objects in relation to each other, but a different kind of understanding of what space and time is.
So it's very difficult for me to keep it going in a way that my life is art, an artist's life, and in that I am always not getting enough. It's a kind of unfinished situation. But because of that, I thought, well, why not make it unfinished? Unfinished music, unfinished, art, and it's good, I thought.
Yeah. And the other thing that's very, people may know, people may not, is I'm going back to my notes, the fact that you were trained in German lieder singing, you were trained in opera, you were trained in traditional Japanese singing. You had a very strong musical training. This is where you began. And and I think this also maybe influences the way you approach not only all the art you make and the music you make, but film. Because you didn't train as a filmmaker, you trained in music and then...
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt you. I just realized the fact that I started to do this very strongly connectedness thing is to make the unconnected life, which is tragedy, it's sadness. There's sadness in unconnected life. And to make that into connectedness, and connectedness which is positive and joy. So the sorrow, I was trying to create the sorrow into a joyful thing.